The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place. Bye.
Portions of the following program are pre-recorded.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Wow, do I have another electric vehicle story to tell you, Steve.
Now what happened? Okay, so is it safe to say at this point, given current technology and you being the technology guy, you haven't had the best of luck with electric vehicles?
No, and there's probably a lot of people that don't know the first story, so I should probably give a recap of that one first,
quickly,
right?
yeah.
Yes, quickly recap. So what was this, 4 months ago? I'm in Vegas. Decide I'm going to rent an electric vehicle. Purposefully rented an electric vehicle. I
Check that sucker out.
Had an extra day at the end of the trip that I didn't have much scheduled for, so I figured if I ran into some challenges.
Good thing you had that day.
Boy, I guess. As you know, it started the day before, tried to charge the vehicle, and the first attempt on a Friday evening did not go well. Spent 2.5 hours, if I remember right, at an Electrify America station and could never get the thing to charge. And I had a Volkswagen Polestar, which I love the vehicle, by the way. So I haven't had an electric vehicle that I didn't like to this point. Some are better than others, but they're all speedy and I love all the tech inside of them, right? It's just the charging part. So anyway, the next day I went over, this is on a Saturday now. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go to a better place. And then I realized that, they have 4 charging stations and in this area around a Sam's Club. And I realized as I'm parking the car, like a couple rows back, that all the vehicles around the charging stations were electric vehicles waiting to get charged.
Why didn't you just go to the mall?
This was kind of at the mall. What do you mean by go to the mall?
Well, big malls have parking structures. In those parking structures, the prime spots are electric charging spots.
They're all taken.
In the whole mall.
I don't even know how to explain this to you. There's 38 charging stations in all of Vegas.
That's it?
Well, there's 40 Tesla stations around the link. And then there's this spittering of 4 here, 6 here, 2 here. It's just, and they're different companies. So it's challenging to say the least. And on a weekend, when you have half of California that have come to Vegas with their electric cars, Vegas can't handle it. They just cannot handle what's going on in there.
Not there.
Not for what's going on in Vegas right now, because the California mandate of electric vehicles is impacting the places around California, because the only way the people from California can travel is by electric car. So if they're going to take their electric car to Vegas, good luck.
And now they're limited on where they can go.
Trying to find a charging station on a Sunday in Vegas. That is just like, don't even think about it. If you live there or if you're working there, Sunday is just, don't even think about it. Please have your car charged before or after that, because the lines are incredible. Gas stations can handle that. I mean, you can wait 5 or 10 minutes in line and fuel up, right? When your car takes 30 to 60 minutes to charge, which most of them do, I mean, it creates lines, and there's no pecking order. And this is the thing,
no church rules.
Who knows who's next?
Everybody takes your turn. It's church rules.
How do you know this? How do you know who's next?
Wasn't there a line?
There's no line. You've seen these charging stations. Wow. It's not like it's a gas station line. They're at the end of a parking lot. And then there's like parking around them, and that parking isn't designated just for EVs. It's parking for everybody. So who knows who's next? There's no number taking thing or anything like that. Now, I think the one app that I looked at this last weekend was there was a reservation scenario on there. So that might help a little bit because you have to use the app to charge. But, yeah, it's interesting. So that was my first experience. About 6 hours into this to charge my car.
Because you were just trying to return it to the...
Well, and the thing is that so Hertz...
Car rental place.
Yeah, the car rental place. So I'll just throw names out here because I think they're all about the same. But I rent from Hertz most of the time. And...
Ouch.
Only because they have 24-hour service in Vegas. And sometimes I end up having to come in early or late. And they're the only one that has 24-hour service. Maybe that's changed recently. But anyway, yeah, so Hertz, of course, is a little more expensive than most. I used to be with Thrifty, but again, they close at midnight, and sometimes the flights that coming out of North Dakota here get in there after midnight a lot of times, right? So anyway, I go through all this, return the car, and I'm not going to do this again. Well, for whatever reason...
You did it again.
I did it again. I thought it over after all of this, and I said, all right, I must have had the worst possible experience charging an electric car. So, like a restaurant. New restaurant opens up, you're there the first day. Sometimes the service...
Don't go to the first day.
Yeah, you're right. But the service can be a little iffy and
why
whatever.
They have soft openings.
That's correct. So, I just thought the same thing. I'm like, all right, maybe I'm not giving this enough of a chance. So I rent another car, and this one now, this was the Kia EV6. It's like and I think I have the model number right. It's like a crossover SUV. Mm-hmm. Looks like it's like a station wagon. A little bit more headroom, a little bigger, right? Great car. This car rocks. I'm just telling you right now, that car is amazing. And
you know what you get when it's not charged?
Nowhere.
A rock. It's a big paperweight.
So I'm 4 days into this. I have a meeting over in Pahrump. Now, Pahrump is like 60 miles away from Vegas. And I only have like a half a charge.
Okay, and now you got me thinking of that line from Blazing Saddles with Mel Brooks. And
Pahrump. That's exactly right. So I have this meeting. And I have to get this car charged because there's no charging stations in Pahrump. Somebody that I know told me that if you're going to Pahrump, make sure your car is totally charged because you need to have enough to get back, right? There's no fueling. So, all right. So I start going through the process of getting.
Unless you call the AAA guy that shows up with the diesel generator on the back of a truck.
We'll get to that in a second, okay. Right? But you're right about that. It's interesting. So anyway, I go to the first place to charge the car. And I wait for like an hour for my turn.
So what do you do for an hour?
Well,
you're busy with emails.
So, I mean, I can do that, but it is frustrating.
But the average person, what do you do for an hour?
Well, and the thing you have to realize is that, okay, you're going to sit in your car, right? It's 110 degrees outside.
Right.
So, and in order to keep the car cool, you need to
have it running.
And to have it running, you're consuming
electricity.
I'm at 28%.
Okay.
How long can I go for this, right?
See, I'm thinking big picture, though, because the average, and it's becoming the new normal, especially for like Californians where there's a mandate and things like that. What do you do with all that unproductive time?
It's a good question.
In your vehicle.
Oh, it would drive me crazy.
Or you're sitting there using more electricity because you have to keep the car running because it's 110 degrees out.
If you're waiting. Now, if you have it plugged in, they're smart about that, and there's coffee shops and whatever to go and do that. And I'm okay with that. I mean, if I can park the car, charge it, and go to the coffee shop next door, perfect. This is my kind of lifestyle.
But getting charged in the first place is the issue.
That's the issue, right? So I wait an hour. I pull up to this thing, and it's a Kia. Am I saying that right? It's a Kia?
Yeah.
Okay. And anyway,
South Korean.
They have there's 6 charging stations at this place. One of them is a CHAD, and this is the adapter type, like a CHAD EMO, CHADEADEMO. Wasn't familiar with this adapter. That one doesn't fit.
Aren't they supposed to be all universal now, or getting there, or?
Getting there. but they're not yet.
But they were having that conversation about getting there when there are 2 or 3 different brands.
There are 6 ends right now. 6, just so you know. And so then that one didn't work, and the other one's out of order. Imagine I am actually at the time I'm supposed to be meeting these people in Pahrump who have traveled from California now to meet me there, right? I am late. No matter if I left right now, I'm an hour late. So I'm already late, and I'm still at now 27%, or 26% or whatever. And I got to go find another charging station. So I go find another charging station, and I plug it in, and it says it's going to be about 60 minutes. So I plug it in, get it going. I call them and say, all right, I'm going to be 2 hours from now because it's going to take an hour to charge my car. I can't just fill it up in 5 minutes and drive out there. I got to wait an hour because I got to have a full charge to get there. And then it's going to take an hour for me to drive there, right? So I go out.
You know what I would have done?
Oh, go ahead.
Find a generator in the back. Crack the window.
But
throw the exhaust out.
It doesn't produce quick enough electricity to keep up with you driving is the problem with the generator.
Yeah, but it would have
started. I could have charged it overnight.
Got you over there, and then the little generator would have charged while you were having your meeting.
Yeah, I suppose, and waited overnight.
Would have got you back.
Because if you plug it into a regular outlet, it takes sometimes 4 or 5 days to charge that.
Days.
Yeah. So anyway, I go and have coffee. I call them, go and have coffee. And again, when I left, it was said to be about 60 minutes. So now it's 65 minutes. I leave the coffee shop. I walk over there because if you go over, they start charging you $3 for every 10 minutes that it sits there while it's not charging, right? So, and you leave, you put your phone number in because it's supposed to text you when it's close to being done. I don't have the text yet. Did I not put the phone number in right? I'm thinking all this stuff through. Like maybe I did something wrong here, but it's got to be close to being charged. I walk up to it. 210 minutes left to charge the car.
What?
So I went from 60, I'm there over an hour, I'm now at 210 minutes to charge the car. What am I supposed to do here?
Rent a different car.
Oh my goodness. I am beyond livid.
How important is your meeting?
Oh, it's very important. It's crazy important. And I'm delayed because of an electric vehicle that I cannot get charged.
Super Talk.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort, meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
And before I forget, and I know you know Dennis well too, Dennis Lindahl, big tip of the hat to Dennis. Have you heard how well Drone Camp for Kids went?
No, I didn't.
Oh yeah. Off the hook successful this year.
Well, it's been growing every year.
Growing. I had a talk with Dennis. They had a couple of additional speakers come in from a couple different firms. I guess the kids just ate this up this year. So it was very, very successful. Congratulations to Tioga, Dennis Lindahl. I mean, they do a great job up there.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say Dennis sent you a drone with some extra batteries to charge up your vehicle.
It's funny that you bring that up.
Or maybe a drone could send you 5 gallon can of gas if you had a real vehicle.
He suggested that he should do that, actually. So that's funny. That is funny. All right. So I'm late to the meeting, and I'm at like 26% or whatever. And it's getting to the point now, right, that I am...
Wait a minute, you were at 26%.
I was at 28, and I used a couple up. Oh, that's right. So I got a little bit of charge. I think
it's on for an hour.
I was up to like 36 or 37%.
Ooh.
I got that much in an hour, right? That's right. So I got a little better. But not even close. And I'm thinking to myself, what am I supposed to do here? I cannot sit here all day and charge his car up.
Rent another vehicle.
So but I'm 14 miles the other way to the car rental place. So this is what I do. You're absolutely right. I am a preferred member at Hertz. I rent 200 days a year. I mean, I usually can just walk in and pick a car out that I want, right? So I go there, I drive the car over there. I go into the thing. I said, I just want to exchange the car for a gas-powered car. I cannot get this car charged up. And the guy goes, is there something wrong with the car? I'm like, I don't know. It's just saying that it's going to take hours and hours. I'm on a fast charger, the fastest, because this thing will handle the fastest charging that you can put to this thing. It's not charging, at least not fast. And anyway, he goes, well, I don't know if we have any gas-powered cars.
What?
I'm like, I'm just like you're looking at me right now. I have that look in my eye, like you're kidding me.
Okay, so
I'm now 2.5 hours late for my meeting. I got an hour to drive.
This is an important meeting, right?
Very, very important meeting. Like I'm looking like a stupid idiot right now.
Uber,
I'm not
Lyft.
There. So I'm thinking to myself, what can I do? So I walk out to the rental. So this is the guy checking the car in. I go to the rental thing. I got to wait in line for a couple minutes, even though I'm in the preferred area. There's a whole line of people. And I'm like, I don't care. I said, I need a gas-powered car. It's going to be at least an hour and a half.
Oh, my gosh.
We have electric vehicles. Well, there's a reason.
Fully charged? Can I just exchange one that's fully charged?
There's a reason you have electric vehicles. Because other people who rent them or use them know they can't charge them. People already know this, right? I'm the idiot here. So I'm like, fine. I'm also preferred at Thrifty, and it's 2:00 in the afternoon. So it's not this midnight thing I'm dealing with. So I go down to Thrifty, and crazy helpful. The guy come up to me. He even knew who I was. He's like, Mr. Anderson, how can I help you? And I'm like, I need a gas-powered car. And he calls down to the garage or the area store. Nobody's answering the phone. He's like, that's strange. Nobody's answering. So he goes down there. There's a line of people. He goes, oh, we're obviously out of cars. So they have no cars. So it's obviously busy there right now. So I'm like, I can't even rent a car from somebody else. I go back to Hertz. I take my paperwork up. I walk out into the area where they have cars. I grab a guy who's bringing them on. I said, I don't care what kind of car you have. I just want a car. Well, there's a Tesla right there. He come up, he opened up the door. He goes, oh, it's charged to 87%. Okay, I will take this car. So I left with a Tesla. I got there. I got back from Pahrump. And I drive with like no air conditioning. It's 110 degrees outside. I mean, I'm sweating profusely because I know I need to conserve as much electricity. You didn't even crack
the window because it screws up the aerodynamics.
I needed to conserve as much as I could. I'd like turn it on every like 5 minutes just to cool it a little, get a little blast of cool to cool myself down. It's only like a 50-minute drive because it's 60 miles, And so anyway, I get there and get my meeting done and I come back. I have 12% left in the car. So, and I'm like, you know what? I limped over to the hotel. I'm tired. I'm frustrated.
Don't the hotels have charging?
Some of them do.
Okay.
So next morning I get up. I obviously need to charge the car. So I go and I look on the map, and the Tesla charger where I need, the big one is probably, and there's crazy construction around the link because they're getting ready for Formula One in Vegas. And I know that if I go close to that, I could sit. I've sat in traffic for 2 hours and moved a block in that area. I mean, and I'm not going to sit there with only 12% left in the car. Because when you run out,
you're out.
You're out. It's not like I can go get a gas can and put a gallon in the thing. You're just out. So, I mean, you have to get towed. I mean, what do you do here when you run out of fuel, electricity in your EV?
Call the guy with the big diesel generator on the back of his truck.
But again, I just don't think, it'll charge a little bit, but it's not a lot, So anyway, so I'm looking for other solutions, and I found a solution. I go over to this particular place, and it didn't have
Bird scooters.
It's like, what was it called? Yeah, that's pretty much right. I love your scenario. I'd have got around town a lot faster, that's for sure. So I go to this one, and again, now it's like, is it Saturday? It's Saturday. That's right. Oh, my goodness. The line is insane. And now I can't go anywhere. I got now 9%. I don't have a choice, right? I need to charge this car because I am almost out. So I sit there like an hour and a half, hour 45. Somebody finally pulls out. And, I mean, nobody's moved in this whole time. So I'm not the only one that has to wait forever to get to a charging station, right? But I finally get up there, and it's not a Tesla charging station. It's one of the other ones like Electrify America. And they don't have a Tesla port. Are you kidding me? So there is.
So is this whole charging industry turned into iPhones? iPhones are all going to the seaport.
Yes, for this reason, right? So I open up, and I know that there's an adapter in the car. I open up the little thing there. There's an adapter. I'm like, yes, there's an adapter. Doesn't fit. No. No, I'm just like, how is this possible? Now I'm down to 9%.
Do you have like a USB off your computer?
What am I going to do? There's like there's 6 charging stations at this one. And I'm looking, now I'm like going up to people, and I'm like, and I noticed now that there's no Teslas sitting there too. They're all the other, like the Kias and the
you should have kept the Kia at this point, or the Volkswagen.
Oh my goodness. So I'm on my phone, and I'm like, oh, there's a charging station across the street. It's a slow one, but I don't even care anymore. I mean, if I have to park the car for 8 hours, I'll sit at Chick-fil-A, which is right next door there, and work for a while or something, right? So I go over there, and it doesn't fit. And then the one that would have fit, somebody had vandalized it, had cut the cord off of this thing. But I'm looking at the end, and I'm like, this is the end that I need, and I'm like going insane. Now I'm down to like 8%.
All right, so you cut the end off of that, pull it over, splice it together with the other cord that you cut that end off, and it's good to go, right?
So I'm looking at
little duct tape.
I know that there's for truly a Tesla charging station over by Tivoli Village, which is this Italian place. That's kind of cool. And it's like 8 miles away. And I'm thinking to myself, can I make this? Like, I'm thinking when you're at the last 8% of like a regular battery, it's like the weakest time to have a battery because, you know what I mean? I mean, it can show 20% and it'll drain to nothing fast.
Talk of the town.
The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.
Bakken, weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app. Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
So Chris stepping in, joining us for a little bit now. And Chris, I wanted to get your take. Marlo's still a little heated from his electric vehicle. I tell you what, every time he rents one, he's going to have the same outcome over and over and over again. There's a convenience factor. And how much is your time worth if I can fill up my vehicle for 5 minutes at the gas station versus for the same cost versus, okay, I got to sit here and wait for 5 hours to get charged. Where's the value? I don't, my time is worth something. So where are you at on the whole spectrum of electric vehicles? Because time is worth something. And I put things in terms of ROI. What's the return on investment? Mm-hmm. Is there a cost benefit for me to do something a certain way rather than what I'm currently doing? I look at that. I don't see that with electric vehicles yet.
Yeah, for me, I'm in the electric vehicle hybrid camp for the most part.
Hybrid, yeah.
I used to drive a Ford Escape hybrid, and then when I was with Basin Electric, we converted a Escape hybrid into a plug-in hybrid. So the first 60 miles was going to be all battery, and then the gas engine kicked in. And I was actually able to drive that thing from Gillette, Wyoming, all the way back to Bismarck on one tank of gas.
Nice.
Because of the electric capability. Like 450 miles, boom, I got back here, one tank of gas. As a 15-gallon tank. So I was doing really good. in the cold, the older lithium-ion batteries, they don't really hold up. I know that when I drove my Ford Escape, I was consistently getting 30 to 40 miles per gallon in town, 25 to 30 on the highway. But in the winter, it dropped down to 10 something because just that severe cold just does not treat those batteries very well.
Now they wrap them in different heater packs.
Right. Yeah. And the Escape Hybrid, it ran on nickel metal hydride batteries rather than lithium ion, that the stock hybrid battery that comes with them. And I can't remember exactly what the difference is or how one benefits over the other. Everyone seems to be going to lithium. But as I see it, one of the biggest things we talk about electric vehicles and in terms of climate and using energy resources, it comes down to a mindset, I think, of the people. If the average person drives 30 miles a day, should they be driving their Escalade 30 miles a day and that's it? I see these as second car options. For somebody that's going to be traveling long distances or renting a vehicle, you need to have that vehicle to get around. Electric's probably not your solution. But, for me, I live on the other side of Bismarck, so I'm doing about 20 miles round trip every day. That's pretty much what I put on my car. An electric vehicle would be fine for me, just for that back and forth. But then again, I can't take that car on the highway.
So now you have to have a second vehicle just for travel.
Right. And so but most everybody's going to have two vehicles or three, depending on what kind of family you are, particularly in rural areas. And then you talk about possibility of energy storage. I think a lot of times people think, well, these I'll just plug them into my house and then I can run the meter in reverse and sell that power back to the company. And a lot of that doesn't quite pan out either because we got wind turbines, you have solar power. Up here in North Dakota, electric rates are pennies per kilowatt hour. You're looking at double digits on the coasts. I could see why people would be trying to go down that path, electric-wise. Because ultimately, if you don't do something with the transportation sector, the entire burden of climate change, if there's going to be mandates down the road, falls on the power sector. And you're looking at 30% of the emissions coming off of transportation. There's a bunch coming off of cement plants. So you can't just focus it on one industry if you're going to make a mandate of that sort related to climate change, if that's the direction that this world's going to go. I am a big fan of rail. I think we need high-speed rail in this country like nobody's business. We have larger distances than most other countries. But if you can get those where people are taking the train between New York and D.C. or between San Francisco and San Diego, rather than making that drive, I think it's a better idea. You can't really have a high-speed rail that's very convenient to go coast to coast in the United States. But I know when I lived out in D.C., the Acela was right there, 2 hours to New York versus 5 hours in the car. Was great. When I lived in Japan, I could go from one end of the country to the other by rail. But they're also a very land-poor country as far as for space for roads and there's a lot of congestion and not a lot of people own cars. There's a lot of cars there, but in Tokyo, you can't own a car in Tokyo unless you can prove you have a parking spot.
You're kidding.
Yeah. So when it comes to the transportation sector, I think we really need to rethink this concept of, I guess I'm just drawing a blank. There needs to be an overhaul to understand that not everybody needs to be a single person in a car driving to work and back 30 miles a day. There's got to be a better way.
So you're looking for the paradigm shift. There needs to be a big shift in mindset.
Correct. We're just not there yet.
I don't even think we're close to that yet. Mm. Going back to the hybrid thing in the rail, you take a look at a train engine that's a hybrid. Mm. You're taking a look at the different efficiencies that hybrids provide. Your example with driving from Billings to Bismarck, 1 tank of gas, 15-gallon tank. There's efficiencies there. When things get politicized and there's a political agenda put on them, you don't come up with efficiencies. You don't come up with the best way of innovation and the best way to have an outcome. And I think that's the dangerous slippery slope we've gotten down with some of the climate change stuff, because it's all or nothing. Well, yeah, but what if all of one or the other is not the best solution? Things should be solution-based. That's where you come up with, how do you innovate? I mean, that's basically what this country's been based on, is innovation and new technology and building the better mousetrap. And we've gotten away from that for political agendas rather than, well, what makes the most sense, both economically and lifestyle. There's a lot of different pieces. And one of the things I always come back to with the electric vehicle stuff, given where we live up north, is the safety side of it. What happens when you don't get the range you thought you were going to get and you break down on the side of the road because you're out of fuel? You know, whatever that fuel is. Okay. If I'm driving a traditional vehicle, like go get a can of gas or, hoof it over to the farmer in the snowstorm, and they're going to go, yeah, here, borrow a can of gas, and can get where I'm going. With an electric vehicle, it's like, do you have a charging station in the barn?
Right.
Probably not.
And I think that's where people don't quite get the vast distances that we have to travel in this country.
Well, and that's where the disconnect from urban areas on the coast versus places like we live that are more rural, there's a huge disconnect between the two of those. And those policies and those agendas, those political agendas you put in on one coast or the other, don't necessarily work here. So when you're looking at how to manage that, you got to take the politics out of it.
Look, Super Talk.
The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Welcome to April 16th on the National Day calendar. Today, we're swapping suits for sleepwear and taking a moment to appreciate a diverse family of flowers.
Ever woken up and wish you could just stay in your pajamas all day? Well, on Wear Your Pajamas to Work Day, you actually can. It's a day to embrace comfort and shake up the usual office attire. So roll out of bed, fluff up that bed head, and rock those bunny slippers. Remember though, colleagues may not appreciate the whole bedtime breath look, so please don't skip the toothpaste.
Get the new white panna with the brand new flavor. It's daddy for your teeth. Russia. New white panna.
Did somebody forget to send me the memo? I feel so out of place today.
You're literally the only person not in pajamas in the office right now.
I think it's cool that everybody else did participate, but how come nobody let me know? Were they afraid of what I might wear? Or what's the deal here?
Yeah, we've heard stories.
My Marvel pajamas are fantastic.
We heard you come in onesies, and we were not today. Sorry, Marlo.
It's a good call, actually, because you're right. Moving from comfortable attire, let's bloom into the world of orchids. These beautiful and diverse flowers have been captivating humans for centuries with their vibrant colors and exotic shapes. With over 25,000 known species, orchids are one of the 2 largest families of flowering plants. On National Orchid Day, let's appreciate these botanical beauties and the intricate diversity of nature.
I overlooked an orchid while searching all the road.
I love orchids. They're so beautiful just by themselves. They're just gorgeous.
Really? So they rank higher than roses or tulips or dandelions?
They're probably right there with the tulips and maybe lilies. Yeah, they're like some of my favorites.
Okay. You didn't make any mention of dandelions, though.
What?
They're so beautiful when they turn white and blow away.
Why were you impressed by that? This is literally about orchids.
I love that you have no words to that.
All right. Well, I'm LaToya Johnson.
I'm Marlo Anderson.
Thank you for joining us on our journey to celebrate every day.
Until next time, keep celebrating.
This is the Pet Minute. I'm Steve Dale. It's Dog Bite Prevention Week. Some tips next. Boehringer Ingelheim Animal Health wants you to know that your dog can be at risk of heart disease. By screening for a heart murmur, abnormal heart rhythm, or heart enlargement, your veterinarian will be able to diagnose and possibly treat these signs earlier. There are medications that can help delay the onset of congestive heart failure or manage the symptoms of heart failure once diagnosed. Talk with your veterinarian to see if your dog is at risk and schedule that ever-important annual exam. Early detection is best. Most dog bites are preventable. Here are tips for preventing dog bites, which mostly happen to children. Never leave a young child and a dog together unsupervised. Teach even toddlers to respect dogs, as dogs can only take so much ear and tail pulling. Regular checkups with a vet are important because sometimes dog bites happen when they're not feeling well. Learn more on my website, stevedale.tv. For the Pet Minute, I'm Steve Dale.
We know times are tough. Inflation got you down? Well, we have your $30,000 inflation salvation. You could win up to $30,000 to help you through these hard times. Or be a daily winner of $100. Listen weekdays for code words between 8:30 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. Enter the words you hear into the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app for your chance to win. You have up to 10 chances per day to win up to $30,000. Your 30K inflation salvation is here.
Powered by 3B Meats, your neighborhood butcher shop with a modern twist.
On Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.
Talk of the Town, weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.
KLXX Mandan Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union Studio.
Drive to highlighted route.
I spy with my little eye something blue.
This summer, enjoy your family road trip even more. See your Carolina Ford dealer for great offers on a new Ford SUV.
Without apology, The Regular Joe Show with Joe Gigante. Weekday evenings at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.
Portions of the following program are pre-recorded.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
We're talking with Chris, and I want to talk a little bit about connectivity, not necessarily on a computer or your device, but in global circumstances. One of the barriers we have, languages. Technology is really overcoming a lot of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really amazing the way things have come in the last few years. Google Translate. You type any phrase you want, and you get a fairly reasonable translation into another language right on the web. And those have navigated into mobile apps where you can get.
But the problem with a lot of those is there's a lag. So if you're trying to communicate with somebody, say you're on vacation and you're trying to communicate with somebody in a foreign country, and you whip out your phone and there's a little bit of a lag time. It's hard to keep things in real time. So, hey, you can ask for directions. You can, where's the nearest bathroom, or where's the nearest grocery store or convenience store? But there's a little bit of a lag time. You can't really have a conversation or communicate with people. But there's some technology that's overcoming that.
Yeah, the one thing I've been following is Waverly Labs has something that they call the Ambassador. It's basically an over-the-ear headphone that has built-in machine learning and speech recognition that it'll, in near real time, translate what you're listening to. And they have different use environments for it. One is if you just want to listen to a foreign language film without the subtitles on, you wear this while you're watching your show. If you're at a lecture and maybe, let's say English or Chinese is not your first language and you want to hear what's being said, you pop this on and then you can listen to the speaker. Kind of reminds me a little bit of a time when I was going to school in Tokyo. We went to a kabuki play down in Tokyo, and it's all in Japanese, and they have this very, very dramatic, stylized form of speech. Well, for $10, I bought a little pocket translator, but it wasn't real time. It was somebody had recorded all the parts of the play in English, and he's explaining what's going on to me. Here, I wouldn't need to. I'd have my own.
Right.
I'd just pop it over the ear and listen to the play. And there is still a bit of a lag because you can actually have it as a conversational piece. When you buy the kit, you get 2 of these, and you basically would give the earbuds to somebody else, and then you would have a back and forth conversation. I don't think it's something you'd walk up to a stranger on the street and use, but if you're in a kind of social setting, let's say you're traveling abroad and you're at a school function, if you're studying abroad, this way kind of to break the ice and you can actually have a conversation with somebody. There is going to be that lag as far as the machine translating it for you. But it gets us into that face-to-face kind of communication and I think makes the world a little bit smaller. So that's definitely something that I've really looked at as the direction the technology is going, because the biggest thing I ever want is the Star Trek Universal Translator. We can. Why does everybody in Star Trek speak English? It's like, well, we have this magical device that translates everything into something you can understand. And that was a plot.
Hey, there's a lot of innovation that's come out of that show, so I'm sure it's going to pop up somewhere.
And then you look at like a show like Doctor Who, where they get around the idea that everybody's speaking English by saying, well, the TARDIS translates every known language to man instantaneously and telepathically puts it into your brain. Or Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Here, put this fish in your ear. It'll automatically translate for you. So there's so many, that's an aspirational thing for folks. We want to be able to understand each other and communicate. And technology is really a good way to do that.
So when you're looking at the different technologies and where things have come from and where they're at right now and where they're going to, is there a curve on that? Because you go back to, I'm thinking back in the conference days, you'd have somebody with an earbud and it's sitting at a big table and political people from different countries and somebody's talks, and then that means the translator is listening and then has to speak back into the ear of whoever they're there for, whatever language it is, and lag time. A lot of it's gotten to be more real time, and I think that's where you can start making some more strides.
Right. Let's say you're at the UN, and I look back at some of the here in North Dakota when we were during COVID, when the governor was doing press conferences every day, he had a sign language interpreter right there. And sign language interpreters they're amazing. They can translate what they're hearing into sign language in real time. I mean, there might be a little bit of a lag as they're catching up. Court stenographers, they type everything down. They have their own shorthand. At the UN, you have professional real-time translators that are talking in the earbuds of every member of the assembly down on the floor in their own language. Technology is not there yet, but I think that's the direction it's ultimately going to wind up going, is where you don't have to rely on a third party to understand each other. But at the same time, I think it also might be the death knell of language learning. If I can suddenly understand everybody, what's the impetus for me to learn a foreign language? How's that going to affect global commerce? Does suddenly everybody start speaking English? I think something like only 5% of the world speaks English.
Yeah, Spanish is the biggest language, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think Chinese, if you can read and write, there's multiple different languages.
It's up there.
Yeah. So it's a double-edged sword. It's like you have technology to make life easier, but at the same time, speak to somebody in their own language, and they will. I think I'm going to butcher it, but it was a quote by Nelson Mandela. Speak to a man in his own language, and you've spoken to his heart. I think that's what he was saying. It's like it shows that you care, that you understand that even though we're both humans, we have different backgrounds and different beliefs and values and ideas, and that's all shaped through language.
You know, I could see a little bit of that too, because I remember back when, and I'm an English guy, and the written form is a little special to me. But when the computer started to take over spell check, and look at the people that can't spell now, because they've become reliant upon, the computer will take care of it. So where's the impetus to actually learn how to spell? Grammar corrections, things like that. You don't worry about them anymore when you're doing the work yourself, because the computer program takes care of it. So you get out of habit of being able to do some rudimentary English language things, the spelling, the grammar, there and there. There's a few words out there that people confuse all the time, and I think that's getting worse.
But then again, it's like who gets to pick what is correct English? I'm reading a book right now by linguist John McWhorter, and it's like, yeah, we've got multiple varieties of English around this world. We have UK, Irish, Australian, New Zealand, America, even Canadian English. So there's all these different varieties of English. Who gets to pick which one's correct? Which one do you tailor your grammar correction around? I look at there's this new commercial out with them from Arby's that their fishes are the best thing since you and all became y'all.
Don't even get me started on contractions, because that's an entire different area of the English language. But it's also a great point that it shows where we truncate things, because I think human beings inherently are lazy. So when you're looking at technology to take over some things that, I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to learn to spell. I don't have to do the English, or, calculator will do all my math now. There's a lazy factor, but then once you buy into it's making my life simpler, then it also makes you dumber.
But then there's also this factor that languages are lazy. They always take the path of least resistance. There's this thing called the Great Vowel Shift in English, where suddenly we started pronouncing vowels in an entirely different way over time. In Britain, anything that started with the letter H, gradually the H disappears, because, why do I need to say the H? That's why you say hello instead of hello. I mean, the H just drops away. And language evolves and it changes. And the more these technologies can understand how we actually speak as human beings, I think the better off we are. The passage I just read in this book was John McWhorter had gone to Germany and understood standard German, and then went out to a pub in southern Germany, and it was like they were speaking an entirely different language.
Well, I took German just because, going back to the subtitles, and I was a big World War II movie buff. Didn't like reading the subtitles. I want to know what they were saying. So I took 3 years of German in high school and college just so I could understand the language. I can understand a little bit of it. I can read it. I can't speak it, and I can't write it. But my ear will pick it up. But great example with German language is there's High German and Low German. There's the very prim and proper, to the letter of the law rules about the German language, and then, by the way, there's this other one that most people speak. And German is a good example because the Germanic language is the basis for many other languages as well.
Right. You look at we're getting away from technology, but let's just run with it. Icelandic is a Germanic language, and it has not changed in hundreds and hundreds of years. They say that it's probably as close to what Old English sounded like than English is itself. Just the way that the language is written and spoken. Technology is, I've always been a kind of a language buff, and technology has really opened up my eyes and allowed me to expand out.
Super Talk.
The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
So we're talking about different energy forms and what's the best return on investment or ROI when it comes to, efficiencies and, is it a hybrid engine? Is it hybrid in diesel, hybrid in gas, hybrid in hydrogen? That's the other question because, there's a lot of different hybrid opportunities out there. It's kind of when you put the two things together and come up with something better than either one of them separately. Where's fusion on this? Because now they've actually pulled off a second fusion, which I believe it was 3.5 megajoules is what the output was from a fusion, and which is about enough to power a household iron for about an hour, but they're making some strides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, was it only the second time that they've generated a fusion reaction that produced more energy than it took to
make it?
Yeah.
Because that was the problem in the past. They could create fusion, but there was not a net gain of energy. It took way more energy to produce that fusion reaction than a lot more input than output.
Yeah, I think, perfecting fusion gets us one more step closer to Star Trek.
Yeah.
Because, it's clean. There's no nuclear waste in the sense of the old fission, where uranium, you have all the byproducts and the decay, and fusion's supposed to be like the holy grail of energy. Question then is that where you're going to build it?
Is that what a warp engine was?
Warp engines were more fantastical in that the impulse drive ran on a fusion reactor.
The warp engines had radiation, and
the warp engines operated on a matter, antimatter, and annihilation.
Sounded cool though.
Yeah. You take the matter stream and the antimatter stream and inject it through a crystal of dilithium, and that regulates the explosion as the two things destroy each other, and then you power your warp engine.
What's the fastest this Enterprise ever went?
Oh, let's see.
I remember an episode.
Warp 9 point.
I thought there was like a
Warp
something. 11 or.
No, Warp 10's the threshold.
Yeah, I thought it was faster than that because there was I swear there was an episode when, it was, I forget the name of the robot. It was the scientist that put his engrams into the robot. That's how they destroyed it. But the robot actually increased all the efficiencies and went way beyond the structural integrity of what the Enterprise could, but with the engines. And it was over 10, pretty sure.
That must have been the original series.
It was the original series.
Yeah, because then they finally stated that was the old system. Now it's the Warp 10's the max.
Well, yeah, but is 10 really it on when you turn your amp up?
Well, this one goes to 11.
Well, yes. But anyway, going back to fusion and the alternative source, there's a lot of talk about hydrogen out there right now. Is there an opportunity with hydrogen and in a hybrid fashion? So some vehicles, there's a few vehicles out there that are hydrogen vehicles, and they work on that hybrid model. It's a motor producing energy or electricity from the energy produced by the hydrogen fuel. Fusion's a little different though, because I don't see the hybrid application for that. It's just, here's your clean energy.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes it the holy grail, right?
Right, because what you ultimately are doing is you're running a steam engine off of it, basically. Now, because that's how most nuclear reactors work today, is that you use the heat from a nuclear reaction to heat water to run a steam turbine.
Right.
That's the general principle. Fusion, theoretically, you're supposed to be able to get the energy directly off of that without having to run a steam engine, because you don't really store. It's all magnetized, and then there's plasma, and then you don't want it that can't be underwater to heat the water. Maybe it is going to be some sort of a steam solution. Putting it into a vehicle, I don't see that. I think did the military have a prototype nuclear-powered aircraft at one point, where you actually had a small nuclear reactor on an airplane, so you theoretically could stay aloft for eons. Right now, the only real practical place to put those is basically in submarines and battleships. I think that's
there's a weight component when you're going into the air. There's that stuff's heavy. Mm-hmm. It's very heavy.
And then also if you crash a plane, it's not just jet fuel.
Yeah. Burn up and be done. Yeah.
But yeah, I think fusion, as far as getting the power sector to a quote unquote clean level, fusion's the direction that things are going. I think we do have a new nuclear plant going online in Georgia sometime in the next couple of years. Nuclear power, for all of its faults, is still one of the cleanest fuels out there. But then again, it gets back to this, my thoughts about they're not looking at the big picture. Because if you're only talking about the electrical sector, that's a fraction of where CO2 emissions are coming from. It's coming from ethanol plants. It's coming from vehicles idling on the road. It's coming from cement plants. You can't just target one industry and make them take the burden of solving it for everyone else. And then there's the issue of, strike that. I almost had a thought, but it left me.
Marlo and I do that all the time. So when you're looking at the different alternative fuel sources, what else is out there? Because you go back to science fiction, and there's always a magic bullet somewhere. Mm-hmm. Do we know what is out there right now, and that's the breadth of our knowledge, or are there some things that people don't talk about that could be that magic bullet? I mean, if they're actually pulling off fusion now, and that was a magic bullet for a long time, that was a mythical unicorn for a lot of scientists for a long time. And they're like, it can't be happening. It's not going to be. No. A lot of naysayers. Now they're doing it. Now, is it scalable is another question, but they're doing it. So are there any other avenues down there that somebody's got hidden in a closet somewhere?
Yeah, I don't know. First thing that came to my mind is quantum energy. You start getting down to subatomic scales. They've shown that, they replicated like a transporter. They were able to transport a photon from one place to another. I can't remember. This was years ago. And there's this quantum entanglement you get where the two particles could be any number of light years away from each other, but they both behave at precisely the same way at precisely the same time. I think Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. And he just dismissed it out of hand because that violates the principle that the speed of light is the universal speed limit.
Right.
Getting into the Dune franchise, folding space.
Yes.
You really want to get down to transportation, and the best alternative fuel is the one where you don't have to go anywhere. You just stay where you are and still get to your destination.
It comes to you.
That's right.
Just actually, the Doctor Strange, that's kind of the same principle with folding time and you can transport through without going anywhere because it kind of brings it to you.
You're talking about Doctor Who?
Yeah, or no, Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange?
Yeah, they were kind of doing some of that stuff with the metaphysical stuff. Interesting stuff, though.
The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.
To Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
So Virtual Boy got the public thinking about virtual reality decades before true virtual headsets like the Oculus Rift arrived. Okay.
Well, think back when it was, and it's just, okay, it sounded cool. It's something new. It's cutting edge. But I think it was just a marketing tool. It was just, that was all it was because it wasn't virtual. It wasn't.
So have you seen one of these?
I saw one. I did not.
So I want you to remember what it looked like. Here you go.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
What kind of neck muscles did you need to have to hold this thing up? This thing's bigger than your head.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
you strapped it on over your eyes.
Small car on your face.
It's crazy how big this thing is. You swung around, you take out 3 people. It's just huge.
Yeah.
Compared to an Oculus, you know.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Well, and people know, you know, an Oculus is basically the size of goggles.
Yeah,
you know,
pretty much, yeah.
And that thing was...
It's huge.
Yeah.
That's all I can say about it. All right. We're here of the top 20 technology failures of all time, according to Time Magazine.
All right, run through the list real quick.
All right. So there's 20 of them. This list is from 2017, by the way. So we're actually dating the list.
Some we agree, some we don't agree with.
That's correct. So 20 on the list was Napster, 19 BlackBerry. Again, we don't consider that a failure. It's just timed out, basically, right? 18 AOL. Again, not a failure, just timed out.
Yeah.
Palm Pilot, maybe a failure, but it came out in 1997, but that was number 17 on the list. 16 Betamax. Just lost the war with VHS. 15
I think that's what Palm Pilot did, too. They just lost the war with BlackBerry,
right? The 15 is the GM EV1. So again, this article written in 2017.
That was an electric vehicle way before its time.
1996 to 1999. Yeah. And the only way you could really charge them is by plugging them into the wall. But people loved these cars. These 2,000 people that got this car did not want to give them back. There was actually I think it was a 60-minute special.
You would have killed for the ability to just plug it into the wall when you were in Vegas last time, wouldn't you? Yeah.
I killed. 14 on the list, Netscape. 13, I would have probably ranked this higher, Windows 8.
Number one fail of all time.
Yeah.
That's where that should go.
12 is MySpace. I don't know if I call that a failure. It was just a precursor to the social media. Yeah, they lost it to Facebook. They lost the war to Facebook.
Yep. I mean, they were what, a year and a half out earlier than that? Yeah.
Alta Vista lost the war to Yahoo and eventually Google. You know, I mean, they were the first search engine that was out there. That was on number 11, came out in 1995. Probably single-handedly took out AOL, you know, Alta Vista when you think about it. Number 10, Google Glass. Don't agree with that. I don't know about you. I think Google Glass is...
Yeah, that's still around. You know, the Alta Vista, now I got Hasta la Vista.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't get that out of my head.
Number 9 is Sega's Dreamcast, which was a game console that came out in 98.
Well, you remember the game console wars back in the day?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. They still have them. Sega. Yeah.
You know,
Sega,
Sega Genesis and Nintendo and the Wii. And I mean, there were some knockdown, drag out.
Absolutely.
Atari tried to make a comeback.
But they're all, it's such a big money, you know. Yeah. So number 8 on the list, the Motorola Roker E1, which was the first cell phone that actually offered music, playable music.
I don't remember that
2005. So this is a couple of years before the phone came out.
And
the iPod already was
out.
This was now somebody thinking, hey, we could do something more with a phone than make phone calls and text.
See, now I want to go back to those days.
I do too.
Yeah.
7 on the list is the Segway. 6 on the list is QR codes.
Come on, they did a movie off of that. You can't call it a failure when...
That is true.
I mean, you can call Paul Blart Mall Cop a failure, but they did do a movie because of the Segway.
That is true. 6 is QR codes, and again, this was in 2017 before the pandemic. QR codes, of course, have made a huge comeback.
You know what? I think they exploded in part because of the pandemic. I try to look for things glass half full with that whole...
But there's no doubt. I mean, no menus, right? So then you had to scan to
QR
get a
code
menu.
on every table.
Yep.
Look at all the restaurants that have a tabletop.
Still have them.
Yep.
Still have them.
Not going away either. Because, gee, it's a lot cheaper, and I can change the menu a lot cheaper than having to print out a menu.
Yes, big deal. 5 is the Pebble Watch, which was the first smartwatch, eventually bought by Fitbit.
I think it had just evolved.
Number 4 is the Daily. This is the first newspaper that came out. They thought they were going to just change the world and share the revenue with Apple because it was an iPad type of thing. The revenue with Apple killed them, actually, when they had to share that. 3, MapQuest. Again, not a failure because we still use it. I'm just saying. I
liked it.
I haven't used it in a while. I look at it occasionally for directions online.
See, I'll have to do that when I get home today.
Number 2 is Virtual Boy, which was the precursor to Oculus, which basically would,
huge failure.
As an exercise equipment piece to build up neck muscles, perfect for that. All right, number 1 on their list, and this does surprise me. Are you ready? The TiVo.
TiVo?
TiVo. One of the first digital video recorders, or DVRs, to come to market, and a brand so successful it became a verb. TiVo to this day puts out some of the best set-top boxes on the planet. But the company is on this list because it played nice when it should have dominated. For instance, instead of suing when cable companies rolled out their own DVRs, TiVo waited to see if they could work out a deal because it was reliant on the TV providers. So, because they... I guess didn't man up to the scenario. They put them as their number 1 failure.
Okay, so going back to this entire list, then there's a financial component, a marketing component, a success in the marketplace component to this list.
Yep.
Because my cable TV remote, it's got a little TiVo button on it.
Yeah.
It's TiVo's TiVo.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't go anywhere,
no.
But from a commercial perspective, it could have done more.
Yes.
It could have made more. So when you're looking through this list, there is a marketplace component for success versus failure.
Yep. TiVo did sue and won $1.6 billion in the lawsuits.
Chump change.
But considering what that many consumers think TiVo went out of business in the end, did it really win? But they did popularize DVRs.
Okay, but my cable company is still using the TiVo name because it's on the remote. TiVo. So
and that's the lawsuit part of it that they eventually won out. And I would imagine they got a little licensing deal out of that part of it now. So
here's your booby prize.
There you go. Congratulations.
Yay!
You still lose.
Yeah, you still lose. You're out of business. But here's your Consi prize.
That's right.
Go have a nice day.
Yeah, exactly.
But DVR, think of what that did to the media space. I would prefer to watch a show. I hate commercials.
Yeah.
I would prefer to record a TV show and then go back and watch it without the commercials.
I've never used a DVR.
Really?
Never. Not once.
You can get rid of all the commercials.
I never really watched that much TV, so it's just how it was. But yeah, this has been fun.
Yeah, but movies, whatever it is.
I just stream or watch discs, I guess, back in the day.
You can watch an hour show in 35 minutes.
It's great, isn't it?
That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable.
1270.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
So we're going over the top 20 technology failures of all time, according to Time. And 17 on the list is Palm Pilot.
Oh, now that was the one that was like the direct competitor of BlackBerry.
Yeah, I suppose.
That was the one that because I'm still not putting iPhone in that group yet, or Android in that group yet. It was BlackBerry or Palm Pilot.
But Palm Pilot came out in 1997.
Really?
So it was a couple of years ahead of the BlackBerry.
Didn't perform well.
Yeah, the first year it shows that it sold 1 million units the first year. I don't know by what it's not showing me like their biggest year. But HP acquired them in 2010. Palm has devolved into a zombie brand, continually churning out handheld devices that neither sell well nor move the ball forward. So they have the brand
just there,
and they just they make new things with the name on it, but it just doesn't do anything. So, but yeah, Palm Pilot's interesting,
and it was clunky.
It was clunky.
I remember that one was clunky.
So 16, here we go, Betamax.
Aha.
You knew it had to be there. Betamax was better than VHS, of course, and only flopped because Sony fumbled its marketing. That's about half right. I'm reading what it says in here. In truth, Betamax technical bona fides were trifling. I'm not even sure who wrote this. And that, along with its higher price tag, made VHS the consumer no-brainer. Though its technical impact was nominal, Betamax's iconic role in the latter part of the 20th century's videotape format was laid, and the wars laid the notion. Whatever, I'm going to stop reading it now.
Beta was expensive.
It was expensive
compared to VHS. Yeah, the picture was better, but it was expensive.
Generally, professionals used Betamax. I mean, and there was versions of Betamax that were used in television studios. The Pro and whatever. So television studios generally use Betamax, and you and I use VHS at home because it was cheap to get for the most part. Yeah.
But, is Laserdisc on the list somewhere?
Well, we'll find out, won't we?
Because I'm curious, I remember because I lived through the whole Betamax versus VHS debate, and both readily available from the product side. So player aside, people had to make a big choice. Am I going to invest in a movie collection on VHS tape or on Betamax?
Yep.
And I know some people that went down the wrong road very easily.
Yep.
Because it was, both of those technologies came out at such a time that, I mean, they were neck and neck, and it was a flip of a coin which direction it's going to go. So I find it rather intriguing that it was a marketing oops.
Yeah. Well, HD and beta or Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Same scenario, but that was even a lot shorter game, but because by the time, it was Blu-ray that actually won out, right? I can't even remember now, actually.
Yeah, I think so.
But by that time, streaming had taken off. So by the time the war was over, they were already out of business, in my opinion. So let's see, 15 on the list. Well, this is interesting since we talked about this earlier, not this particular thing, but about these vehicles, is the GM EV1. EV1. Are you familiar with this story?
No.
So this is a crazy story. Came out in 1996 and 1999. They built 2,000 of these cars, and there was a community of people that had them. And at one point, they said, sorry, we want our cars back.
Oops.
So they came out and got them and crushed them. Much to the people who had them, most of them loved their cars. They loved that they could plug the car in and it would charge up.
Why did they want to get rid of them?
Well, they thought, this is interesting. The modern EV, I'll back up a little bit. But GM ultimately decided that electric vehicles were too niche, controversially scrapping the program and sending most EV ones to the crushers.
Ooh, what's one worth right now?
That's a good question. If you were able to actually,
held on to one.
I think they were kind of a lease program. So they didn't allow people to buy them because they were just wanting to try this out. So.
Well, and they do that with new technology. Sometimes they'll throw out a vehicle on lease and just to test it and make sure the new drivetrains and everything are working correctly. It's funny because GM's got a history of that. So I've got a friend of mine that used to work at the truck plant in Michigan, one of the truck plants, and Lansing. It was the Lansing one. And they would have different configurations of vehicles for executives. Every now and then, something would slip through the cracks. So somebody who was working for GM and then move on from an executive role, they would take the vehicle with them accidentally. And then eventually that might make it into secondary market somewhere. And I knew somebody that had a 3/4 ton Suburban. They got like 32 miles per gallon, 32 to 34 miles per gallon with the way the motor was set up and the fuel injection was set up. And this was going back a ways. This was like it was his hunting truck, and GM reached out trying to get the vehicle back. When they finally tracked it down, he's like, no. And they came to his house and nope. And they were living in Minnesota. It's like, nope, not selling this vehicle. They gave him offers like crazy. It's like, but it was an executive vehicle and it was a test vehicle for GM, and just didn't go down that road. He's like, nope, I'm keeping this. I like my 32 to 34 miles per gallon in my 3/4 ton hunting truck. You're not getting it back.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that just kind of, it's an indicator of what is out in the public market versus, what goes on behind closed doors at some of these places. What are they testing? What technology is out there?
Yeah. Nuclear fission.
Yeah.
Hydrogen. Who knows?
Who knows?
Right. 14 on the list is Netscape. Do you remember Netscape?
I do remember Netscape.
So this is interesting. It's the first internet browser, right? I mean, it was like what took over. In fact, I would say Netscape was probably the real demise of AOL when you think about it, because you didn't have to have a service, as I'm putting my quotation marks up, anymore.
Service.
You could just have an internet service provider and use Netscape on your computer, and you could get to websites. I mean, it would actually render websites and stuff. And if you don't, and I'm just going to give you a real quick thing. Websites, the internet is actually telephony. I don't know if you knew this.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to the techranch.com, right?
Think of an IP address as a phone number.
It's a phone number. That's exactly what it is. So, and a URL then just changes that phone number to like the techranch.com or whatever. So that's how it works. So Netscape was the first one that started to render those type of things. Won a landscape, court case against Microsoft, a decision with implications that still influence the industry today. Yeah, well, Netscape won the battle. It eventually lost the browser war, but not before selling itself off to AOL for $4.2 billion.
So the demise of AOL, but AOL bought them out.
Netscape for $4.2 million. Yeah. Crazy amount.
Talk of the Town. Weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.
WXX Mandan, Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union studio.
That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable. Ah.